Okay, so the Montreal Canadiens acquired Eric Staal from the Buffalo Sabres yesterday in exchange for a third-round pick in 2021 and a fifth-round pick in 2021. And the reason why the Habs had to give up an extra draft pick, in my opinion, is probably because Buffalo is retaining some of Eric Staal's salary. I think that's a very reasonable answer why, I would think anyways. And for Eric Staal, he gets a fresh start now in Montreal, and hopefully he can do some good things with it. Alright, I know I'm kind of late on reporting this trade, I realize that. So I'm going to talk more, not so much about the trade itself maybe, but more about, Eric Staal, what he can provide for the Habs. Eric Staal this year, 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points, 32 games. Not great numbers, not really Eric Staal-like numbers that we've seen over the last few years. And people might look at his age, he's 36 years old, and think, well, maybe this is it. He's eaten his bread, he's done, he's not going to be a big point producer anymore. I get that side of the argument. I've kind of been thinking that a little bit myself too, but at the same time, he's playing on a Buffalo team who just can't seem to do anything right. And for Eric Staal, that could definitely be hampering his numbers. So to write him off and say that he's declining because he's 36 years old, I think is a little unfair to him, considering the fact that he is playing, or was playing, on a super bad Buffalo team. So I point back to last year where he had 19 goals, 28 assists, 47 points in 66 games for the Minnesota Wild. And that's a team that's kind of more comparable to the Montreal Canadiens. Not a super great team. Well, they're doing pretty well this year, but last year anyways, not a super great team. Kind of a middling of the pack type of team. That's kind of how I see Montreal. And Eric Staal going there, maybe he can put up similar numbers like he did in Minnesota. I don't expect him to go back to being the Eric Staal through 2016-17 and 17-18 where he had, and even 18-19, he had 3 really good seasons in Minnesota. I don't expect that Eric Staal that Montreal's getting. But I do expect more of the Eric Staal that we saw in the 1920 season than in the 2020-2021 season. He had some physical play to an already more physical Montreal team. I think the Habs are a more physical team than we've seen them be in years. And for Eric Staal, I think he'll fit right in. He's a good safety valve. I saw in an article about him being a good safety valve, especially at the center ice position. In my opinion, he'll more than likely play center, I would have to think. So now guys like Suzuki, Kotkaniemi, and Philip Deneau even, now he's the other centerman I was forgetting there. Those guys have more insulation now. They don't have to maybe be as pressured. They have a little more pressure taken off of them because now there's that threat of Eric Staal perhaps. And while he's not as threatening as he was a few years ago, I still think he's going to be a great option, like I said. Okay, so for playoffs, Eric Staal, is he a playoff performer or not? If you look at his last few years, you could step out and say, well, no, he's not a playoff performer. Look, he hasn't really done much. But in fairness to him, I know I'm kind of coming off as an Eric Staal apologist here, but I'm just trying to, take what I see at face value and just tell you guys the truth, or what I think is the truth anyways on it. But anyways, for Eric Staal, he hasn't done great in the playoffs the last few years, but he hasn't really had a deep enough run, a long enough period of time in the playoffs to maybe really get himself going perhaps, like he had in 09 and in 06. Those are the only two playoffs that I can really draw from and say, well, hey, look, he was really good there. He put up great numbers in those playoff runs. So games played in the playoffs, 62, 31 goals, 30 assists, 51 points. Those aren't bad numbers. Those are pretty good numbers. Obviously, those have really dropped recently in the last few playoffs, like I said. And if he can be anything that he was in 09 or 2006, like he was for Carolina, if he can be even a quarter of that for Montreal, the Habs aren't going to be disappointed. They're going to get a pretty good player. So those are my thoughts on the Eric Staal trade and what he can bring to the Habs. Staal probably happy to get out of Buffalo. I think everyone's happy to get out of Buffalo right now. Sabres fans, please don't take that to heart, but let's be honest. Things are going really bad there in Buffalo right now, and you don't need me to tell you that. The Sabres remind me a lot of the Ottawa Senators of 2 years ago, where, they're smack dab in the middle of all that drama a couple years ago at this time, where just no one wanted to play for them. And maybe it's still kind of like that in Ottawa. They're still kind of in the doldrums of the NHL, but hopefully they'll get out of it soon. And hopefully Buffalo will get out of this soon. This is this is really bad to see. Even though they're an Atlantic Division team, I mean, man, oh man, this is still tough even for me to watch, and I'm not even a Sabres fan, so hopefully there are brighter days for them. But for Eric Staal, like I said, he goes to Montreal now. Please let me know what all of you think of that in the comments below, and what he can provide for the Habs. So let me know all that and more. Please like and subscribe and share this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.